Welcome to Beyond the Product, where we shine a spotlight on incredible Black entrepreneurs making moves and breaking boundaries in their fields. Our visionaries aren't just about the products they're selling. They're about the passion, the perseverance, and the journey that got them there. Let's hear their inspiring stories behind their drive to turn their dreams into reality as we go beyond the product.
So my name is Adrian Lowe. My business is called the Lowe End. I formerly went by the Lowe End Theory, but it's an album by the Tribe Called Quest. Music plays a big part in my creative process, so I kind of drew the name from that, and it tied in with my surname. As long as I remember, I've created in some capacity, whether that was drawing in sketchbooks during class when I was a kid. My father owned a print shop for most of my life, and I worked with him putting together various jobs, letterheads, doing offset and digital printing, making t-shirts for people. I eventually wanted to put it into my own hands and have a bit more creative control over what I wanted to do. To start, it was a bit more of an internal thing, a lot of imposter syndrome, kind of looking at yourself like, who am I to really create, and is this going to go anywhere? Am I going to be able to touch people? Am I going to be able to incite thought for people and convey that with art? Outside of that, it's mostly monetary things, finding funding to create at the capacity that I would want to. But the main thing I feel like is just kind of being willing to, I had to work my way up to being able to take those steps to believe in myself and really pursue it as an actual business. So for painting, I catch Michaels on a good day, get sales on canvases. You're paying for, the painting materials. I do a lot of digital illustration as well, so upkeep with iPads and buying Apple Pencils, buying computers that are operating with the software, little things that you have to keep up with on the digital end. As far as clothing, I mostly do a lot of outsourcing to factories and manufacturers overseas. When I do things in-house, I was lucky enough to inherit some machinery, so heat press, a vinyl cutter that I can make initial kind of put my ideas on a shirt and kind of using that as a canvas to get my ideas out before I have to make the investment to make things overseas. I sell high-end streetwear clothing, so those run from anywhere from $30 to $45 at this point in time. And I have a tapestry cotton polyester jacket that's been fairly popular, very colorful jacket, and I sell those for $150. I often use the example of watching the Spider-Man movie Across the Spider-Verse. When you see the press run and a lot of the credits rolling, a lot of people aren't paying attention to the people who are animating these movies. Oftentimes in business and just in general, the creatives are often in the background and not really getting the shine that I feel that they deserve. So when I create a new piece, when I want to have somebody model, I try to put the artist at the forefront. So for the most part, you'll see photographers, you'll see bakers, you'll see painters, people with a lot of different creative outlets that I work with and collaborate with to just put them at the forefront and make sure that I'm building community on that end, just because I think that that's important, and putting my ego aside to lift other people in the community in those creative spaces that I respect. It's taken a lot of research. I'm not going to lie to you. I am very tuned in to what other people are doing. When I wanted to pivot to streetwear, I specifically said if I'm putting my name on this, I don't want to just slap my logo on a Gildan t-shirt. I actually want to have a hands-on perspective of the weights of the shirt. I go into Excel and I type in and I calculate out all the sizing myself. I study other brands, their size charts, even down to the materials. Like when I put together this jacket that I referenced earlier, I saw that people make bomber jackets, you have like leather jackets, you don't really see like a tapestry blend or that type of material on that silhouette. So I felt that that was going to be the best way for me to stand out. Yeah, it's just me at this point in time. I had some great friends of mine who assisted me with creating the initial website and setting up those types of things. But yeah, outside of that, I draw up a lot of my own advertising. I am a graphic designer by trade, so I have that experience with making my own flyers for events. I draw over pictures of the city. Like I oftentimes, if I'm doing a pop-up somewhere, I'll go to the location, shoot a picture of the location and draw my octopus logo kind of tearing up the city at that spot. So people know that, okay, they pull up to the event and they know that this is it before they even drive up to the location. Yeah, so when I initially started, it was just a silhouette of me holding a pen. And I had my locks, and I eventually cut my locks off. And in the midst of all of that, I was going through a rebrand. Like, what do I really want to convey with my art? What do I want to convey with my clothing? And I was looking through old sketchbooks to find some inspiration, and I had this three-eyed octopus, which I'm still working on kind of a larger story behind it. But on the surface of everything, an octopus has the ability, well, different types have the ability to camouflage. They shoot ink. So you see like the paint blot, the abstract art, it looks like throwing paint at the wall. It looks like a Rorschach test. But it also brings in a lot of different colors. And then just on a more layman sense, it's having multiple arms, having my hand in every bit of my process, whether that's digital illustration, whether that's graphic design, designing clothes, shooting and taking a lot of pictures of my own products so I can get to a photographer to make it look nicer. Yeah, the creative end, I feel like that comes much more easily to me. Trying to find the balance between the two is tough. So it's things like properly filing my taxes and making schedules out to, or giving myself deadlines and holding myself accountable has been kind of the main thing for me personally. But I would say that most of the time it just comes down to putting things into perspective, coming up with a plan A, plan B, plan C, just for multiple outcomes. Sometimes plan B and C get mashed together into a plan D. And just being able to be malleable and not be too egotistical to say like, okay, I have a date. Sometimes you have to sacrifice that date to make sure that you're getting quality. Because the business end, like doing the social medias, it's a lot. It's a lot. Oh yeah, so 5 years from now, I hope that I have a bit more of a global reach and that I can bring in at least a couple of people to take some of the workload off or delegate certain things like organizing photo shoots and doing some of the more administrative things that I just went over as far as like accounting and keeping an eye on books, making sure all the my I's are crossed and dots are T'd or whatever they say. Yeah, just kind of growing. I want to expand outside of Minnesota as well. I'm working and taking steps on doing that. Trying to get out of town and do more pop-ups, get into gallery spaces, take on commissions for people out of town, because I feel like the perception sometimes is people see you as the neighborhood person, and that goes so far, but it has its limits. And I would love to kind of infiltrate some of the other markets like a New York and LA and Atlanta, where there is a bit more of a fashion scene that's established, and kind of see how I fare in those arenas. I'd say I would tell myself to just do it and just be like Nike and just do it. Like, having a fear of the reception stopped me from doing a lot of this stuff a lot earlier. And I feel like I've tried other avenues to be successful, and I was just putting myself into a box that I didn't particularly like being in. So definitely just push yourself. It's also important to be consistent. Having a high level of consistency is very important, because if you're stepping into a room with your best foot forward, you don't know who's in that room. That's going to be someone's first impression of what you do. So if you walk into the room and you trip, they're going to think you're a joke. So being very firm in your stance and having that confidence, which comes with time. It's a lot easier said than done, but it's important. So I would just say to keep those things in mind. Oh yeah, so mostly everything is the Lowe End. So TheLoweEnd.com is my website. You can see a lot of my artwork, commissions that I've done in the past, my portfolio. And then the LoweEnd.store is where you'll find the clothing and art prints that I sell. If not, you can catch me at your local venue, probably selling my merch and t-shirts and art prints, whatever I put my mind to.
Which venues? Where's your
Ooh. I don't have like a brick and mortar or anything like that. I just do pop-ups around the city at this point. It's global, yeah. I'm based in Minneapolis, Bloomington, but I do most of my shows in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Twin Cities area.